Financially speaking, sometimes bad things happen to good people. Whatever your individual circumstances are, maybe you got laid off from your job or had some unexpected medical expenses pop up, or maybe you were just not very responsible with credit cards when you first turned 18. Whatever the case that led you to not having the type of credit score that ideally you would want, the key is to realize that there are actionable steps that you can take to remedy the situation. I've helped dozens of my closest friends improve their credit scores, and oftentimes their scores improved by 100 points or more simply by following these simple steps. For anyone new to my channel, this channel is dedicated to all things credit related, helping you improve your credit score and finding the perfect credit cards for you. And just like all of my friends have dramatically increased their credit scores, chances are you too can significantly improve your score. I have new videos all the time, so be sure to subscribe, leave a comment down below if you find this video useful, and let's get started on getting you on the right track financially speaking. Let's try to improve your credit score. So the first step in improving your credit score is to find out what's hurting your credit score. And you probably already have a pretty good idea of where you've made some mistakes in your life financially speaking. But we need to go to the source. We need to get a copy of your actual credit reports and see what kind of data they have listed and see if there's any easy fixes that we can get done right off the bat. Now, all of the information in this video is relatively easy to do. Do not pay for credit repair services. Credit repair services are very expensive typically, and they don't do anything that you can't do yourself. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to pull your credit report from each of the three major credit bureaus: Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. All of the other credit websites like Credit Karma and CreditSesame.com, all of those websites pull data from these other three websites, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, and they build models for you. But why spend time with Credit Karma? Why not just go straight to the source and get the actual data that's in your true credit report? Now, there is one other website that you should be aware of, and that's annualcreditreport.com. This website is actually the official website as dictated by federal law, where once per year you can go and obtain your full credit report from each of the three credit bureaus for free. Now, the good news is that with COVID and coronavirus going around, everybody's financial stuff is getting all kinds of jacked up. So currently, you can pull your full credit report once a week at annualcreditreport.com for free. Typically, it's once a year. This once a week thing is going to be good through April of 2021. So you got time to not only get your credit report and then also kind of monitor it as you're going through and making some changes. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go to annualcreditreport.com and ask for all three of your credit reports from Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. Now, when you request these reports, it's going to ask you for some basic information: name, social, address, telephone number, that kind of thing. Maybe a previous address if you haven't lived at your current address for very long. So once you have these three credit reports, I highly suggest actually physically printing them off. That way you can make some notes, highlight things, circle stuff, etc. So what I would suggest to start is simply line the three of them up side by side and then just kind of go through and hit each one of them step by step and work your way through all of them. So the first thing that's going to show up on these credit reports is all of your personal information. So things like your name, social security number, your address, your telephone number, who your current employer is, and all that kind of stuff. And you want to make sure that all of this information is accurate. You want to start highlighting and circling stuff that is not right or it just doesn't look right. So they're going to have all of your previous addresses on there that you've lived. So if you're seeing addresses that you don't know what this address is, maybe it's listed in some state that you've never even lived in, make sure you highlight all that stuff because that stuff needs to come off your credit report. If there's information that's wrong, whether it's big or small, make sure you highlight it. All of that stuff needs to get fixed. If your name is misspelled on some accounts, even slightly, that needs to get updated. If your telephone number is wrong, that needs to get updated. If there's telephone numbers that you don't even recognize, that's a big red flag that there might be some sort of identity theft problems or something like that, or they've just wrongly attributed somebody else's credit file to your stuff, so you're being negatively impacted for stuff that realistically isn't even you. So make sure you highlight anything that's wrong with your credit report. So once you've verified all of your personal information, the next section on your credit report is generally the negative items or potentially adverse items. And this is where all of the bad stuff, this is what's hurting your credit score. That's where this stuff is going to be. So that's going to be all of like the 30, 60, 90-day lates, collections, charge-offs, bankruptcies, like all of that stuff that's hurting you is going to show up on this section. And same thing as before, we're going to go through line by line and just make sure that all of the data and information is correct. So for example, if they're saying that you have a Wells Fargo credit card and the credit card credit limit is $500, but you know that the credit limit is actually $1,000, then that needs to get updated and that needs to get fixed. If it's showing that you have a Wells Fargo credit card and you've never banked with Wells Fargo, you don't have a credit card with them, then that needs to get taken off your account entirely. Make sure that everything is correct, whether you think it's important or not. Because even little things like a credit limit being incorrectly attributed can affect your credit utilization rate, and that's going to be a significant portion of your overall credit score. So make sure it's right, even if you don't think that it's necessarily a big deal or not. If you have accounts that are, let's just say 90 days late, but you know you've been paying and only the last month has been late, you should realistically only be 30 days late instead of 90 days late, then that needs to get fixed. And if you have significant items like just credit cards that you just don't recognize at all, mortgages that you don't recognize, student loans or auto loans that are in this section that you don't recognize, that's a significant red flag. It's either fraud, identity fraud of some sort, or somebody made a simple mistake and was typing in socials wrong, and so now that information is being incorrectly attributed to you as opposed to somebody else. So it's still identity problems, but it's just not malicious in nature. And you might be surprised to find out that 1 in 5 Americans has something incorrect on their credit report. That's why you want to go through and make sure that everything is actually updated and correct. Because if there is this negative stuff showing on your account that realistically shouldn't be on there, then that's hurting your score when it shouldn't be. That's not your responsibility to pay for other people's stuff, right? So make sure that all of that stuff gets removed, because once that negative item gets removed, then that will significantly increase your credit score. The next section after that is going to be all of your open accounts that are in good standing. This is all of the accounts that you've been paying on time like you realistically should have been. Now these are the ones that are going to be helping your credit score, but just because they're helping your credit score doesn't mean that you want to ignore them. So you're still going to want to go through and verify all of the information, make sure that the credit limits are correct and all the accounts are actually yours, that kind of stuff. And then there might be a section for like civil judgments if you've ever been sued or taken to court and had some sort of a civil penalty levied against you. That public records information may show up on your credit report. And then the last section is typically your credit inquiries, where a lender has pulled your credit score for one reason or another. Now there's a couple of different types of credit inquiries. There's a hard inquiry, promotional inquiries, and then soft inquiries. Now, promotional and soft inquiries do not count against your credit score. They do not hurt you. And a lot of times lenders will pull your credit report for you and just to, maybe try to pre-approve you for a credit card. If you've got that spam stuff in the mail, they've probably done this. So don't worry if there's dozens, hundreds, or potentially even thousands of these soft or promotional inquiries on your accounts. The only ones that hurt you are the hard inquiries. So make sure that all of those are actually legitimate, that you actually applied for some sort of a loan or tried to get a credit card or something like that. And those hard inquiries generally stay on your credit report for either 1 or 2 years before they fall off. Now, once you've gone through your entire credit report and have identified any errors, it's time to start fixing those errors. Now, in the case of simple errors, like maybe your name was misspelled on a particular account or an address was incorrect on a particular account, sometimes the easiest way to get that stuff fixed is just to contact your lender directly. So if it was a credit card, contact Visa or MasterCard, whoever it was. If it was a mortgage, maybe contact Wells Fargo or whoever your lender is, contact them and get that stuff updated. Sometimes that's the easiest way forward. And then you're going to want to start a dispute on all of the negative items that are hurting your credit score. So any 30, 60, 90 days late, charge-offs, collection accounts, whatever it is, we're going to go through and we're going to dispute everything. Obviously, we're going to dispute the ones that are fraudulently on your credit report, but we're even going to dispute the ones that are legitimate, that you actually know that, yes, I wasn't paying my credit card like I was supposed to for a while, so I got some late payments. We're still going to dispute everything. Now, here's why we want to dispute everything. Even if you know an account wasn't being paid like it was supposed to, you're still going to want to dispute it, because the way that the law is worded, it's the responsibility of the lender to be able to prove that the information that they're providing to these credit card companies is accurate and correct. It's not necessarily your job to prove that the information is wrong. It's the lender's responsibility to prove that the information is right, and that's a big difference. And here's why that's important. So let's say, for example, that maybe you weren't making credit card payments like you were supposed to. So typically after about 6 months of no payments, the credit card companies and lenders, they just kind of give up. They throw their hands up and they're like, you know what? We're just never seeing that money again. We know that the chances of us getting that money is slim to none. So for accounting purposes, we're just going to move on. We're going to charge off the account. And when they do that, a lot of times they might sell that debt to a collections agency. So let's just say hypothetically that you owed $100 on your credit card and you didn't pay it, and they charge it off and send it to a collections. So a collections company is going to buy your debt. They're going to purchase the right to collect that $100 from your credit card company. And usually they pay pennies on the dollar. So they might only charge like $3-4 in order to purchase the right to collect $100 from you. So if they collect $100, then great, they made 90 some odd dollars. But realistically, they're not going to collect on most people. And when this event happens, when this debt is transferred from your credit card company to this new collections agency, that's going to show up as a charge-off for the credit card company, and then it's going to show up a second time on your credit report as a collections account under this new agency that bought your debt. But this new agency has to prove that you actually owe them money. They can't just say that, hey, you now owe us instead of this other company. They have to be able to prove that you owe them money. And a lot of times with this transfer of debt, sometimes the paperwork gets messed up and they're not able to provide all of the required documentation, so they can't prove that now you owe them as opposed to the credit card company. And so if they can't prove it, then it has to, by law, be removed from your credit report. Or maybe they have all of the documentation, theoretically, in an office somewhere, but for whatever reason, they aren't on the spot, they don't provide that information back to the credit reporting agencies within the proper timelines. So maybe they're short-staffed, or maybe they just lost the email in the shuffle. If for whatever reason they don't provide that proof back to the credit bureaus, then it basically is treated as the same as not being able to prove it, and so then that item is going to be completely removed from your credit report. So it is possible, although a little bit unlikely, to actually get legitimate items removed from your credit report. Never count on these real items being removed from your credit report, but at least give it a shot. It's as simple as sending off a letter to the 3 different credit bureaus, and all of this stuff can be done online. It literally takes a matter of minutes. So there's no reason not to at least try. Now, for all of the accounts that are actually, no kidding, incorrect, there is something wrong with the account, you're going to want to also try to provide some sort of proof just to kind of speed the process along and make sure that the item is actually removed. So for example, if they're showing that a particular account is showing as being 90 days late, and you know that it should only be 30 days late, then print off things like your bank account statements or credit card statements or whatever it was, where you showing that you paid this company for those 2 or 3 months, and that it should not be a 90-day late period. So print all that stuff out, highlight the payments showing it coming out of your account and being transferred to this company like you were supposed to, and submit all of that stuff with your dispute letter. All of the credit reporting bureaus have an option to upload additional supporting documentation. So if you want to upload statements from your bank accounts or letters that you've received from your lenders trying to prove that, hey, they said I paid my balance in full and that I was good to go, and now they're coming back and saying that I suddenly owe them some money. Upload any substantiating documents that you have. Make sure you highlight it, make sure it's nice and easy for the credit bureaus to take a look at it and see what's going on. And assuming that it is actually correct, that you are able to prove that what you say is true and the information on your credit file is incorrect, then they'll remove all of that negative stuff from your account. Once you file a dispute, you're typically going to get a response. Somewhere between 30 and 45 days is usually about the average. And if it's in your favor, they'll remove the account. If it's not in your favor, obviously it's going to stay on your account. Sometimes they'll put a little note on your account saying that you did dispute it, and lenders, when they're pulling your credit report, they will see that little note, so they'll know that, all right, there might be something additional going on with this. We may not treat that quite as severely as we would have otherwise. Now, depending on your credit score and how many negative items were on your account originally and how many you were able to successfully get removed, your credit score will increase. I've seen people actually have their credit score increase by well over 100 points just by sending off some of these dispute letters. Now, obviously, that meant that they were successful in getting rid of some of these negative items. But this can dramatically increase your credit score in a very short amount of time if you are successful. And if you weren't successful and you feel that the information was wrong, then try to get more substantiating documentation, try to get more receipts or letters from your lender, whatever kind of proof that you have, and resubmit it. Don't just give up after the first time if the information was actually incorrect. But if you weren't able to get anything removed, that's not the end of the world. There's plenty of other ways to improve your credit score as well. So make sure you subscribe and watch all of my future videos, because we're going to be walking you through step by step how to get back up to a great credit score, preferably 800 plus. If you found this video useful, be sure to subscribe, leave a comment down below, give it a thumbs up. It really helps the YouTube algorithm, and I'll see you all again next time. Thanks.